Hello again, and welcome back, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for taking the time to join me here. GameStop trading down 1.25% on the day, remaining range bound. Earnings in an estimated 15 days. We're still waiting on that official corporate press release, I guess, as to when that specific date will be. Give or take a week on either side, I'd say. To be safe, but it doesn't matter too much. We're just going to wait and see. I thought it would be today. It wasn't. IV is up today, even though the price is down. Suspect, right? Take note on that. Utilization tracking sideways, about 65%. That's fine. We have a massive amount of Chicago volume come in today. 27% on about 5 million volume. Is substantial, and we've seen in the past here on the 30th, 14% Chicago volume, and then a couple days later we had Kitty return, right? So go on the 1 day here and just kind of show you what we'll be looking at today. So on the 30th, we had 2.9 million volume, 2.87, and then 10 days later we had the big kabang with Kitty's return here, right? So that's interesting. And then today we break that record, almost doubling it, right? But it's not just that, because the volume is different, right? So it's the notional value is a little bit different. So we had where am I here? Sorry, talking to my little assistant. Yes, okay, perfect. So today's volume, 2.87 with 14%, right? Or not today's volume, but on the 30th last year, right? In April or whatever. And then today's volume, 5.5 million, 27%, right? So it's not just record percentage, but because we had almost twice the amount of volume, it's actually 4x, because we're going 2x the percentage, but also that 2x is on 2x volume, right? So it's almost 4 times as much as it was in comparison, because all things are relative, than it was last year, which is a little bit exciting. And then we actually have another individual kind of track out, because there's correlation, but is it causation? Probably not, but now we can kind of start to stack this up and see where we will land a little bit more accurately, right? So this is cool. We're going to take this. It was 7 months ago, right? So there's a lot of missing data here from the last 7 months. We're going to kind of maybe hopefully fill that in tomorrow for you guys to recap and monitor this for the next 10, 20 days into earnings. Why not? It's new. And, maybe if it plays out, then we add that to our things to look out for in the future. We had the Roaring Kitty South Park meme, or post, I guess. I don't know if you can even call them memes. It's like an informational post. But the Chicago Exchange is right near this this building from the Joker movie or the Batman movie, which is interesting, right? And that's kind of the volume happened last time before he showed up, and now we've got this a similar amount of volume while he also referenced it himself, which is interesting. So just waiting to see. I wouldn't bet the farm on it by any means, but we can observe, right? And then if it starts to go, then maybe we know why, right? Ahead of time, and can act accordingly. Utilization tracking sideways. I think I talked about that. IV's up a little bit, kind of irrelevant. We had that post linked here where someone's already kind of tracking it. And it looks like it's paying out really nicely, right? So I'm really interested to fill in the rest of this data for the last 7 months and track the next 10 to 20 days as well, which is pretty cool, right? So this was super interesting today. Just with all that volume coming in throughout the day. And yeah, we'll see where that gets us. As far as technicals go, we are trading down on the day, which isn't great. So losing our 21 exponential moving average, that teal line here, and we want to be above that. And not only do we want to be above that, but we want to kind of get above the 50 as well. But if we go maybe zoom in a little bit from the 1 day to the 4 hour, where we see we had that daily reversal that I was kind of excited about the other day. We have not reversed back on ourselves yet, but it looks like if we don't see some price improvement tomorrow, that will happen, and may even happen pre-market unless we can reclaim these levels. It's not a long way back up, but it will need to happen. On that note, I think we're trending down basically because the S&P 500, the broader market is pulling back a little bit, as it should. We've been on just an absolute ripper since the tariff scares with Trump, right? So just gapping up, and if we don't pull back, I would be worried, right? So we did have a little bit, I guess, which is nice. So maybe something similar to that. Maybe we test the 200 on the 4 hour, even on the 1 day. Like test the 50, the 620 mark. Honestly, I would love to come back to 590. Now that probably wouldn't be great for GameStop unless they were loading up with their cash on some stuff. That would be great. Not great for our share price, though, probably, right? But I would honestly like to see a dip to load in. I've been scaling out, a lot of our long-term investments, which we cover in the other series of videos we do. I do day trades. I do long-term portfolio management. Check that out if you're interested. Just something to do day to day while I watch GameStop trade sideways on zero volume. So we're down with the market, I think. That's fine. We are still range bound here. We've got our accumulation, which we talked about, that I think we might be in an AMD pattern in yesterday's video. We could see a manipulation leg potentially. If we do, we'd be loading up heavy, and then we could look for that distribution. But I don't know if that will pan out. We'll have to wait and see and just observe. What I do know is eventually this gap will fill on the 1 day, right? If we can break into it and retest and hold, it's a good opportunity to maybe scalp some option contracts, but that's in the future. That's to come. Currently, we're just kind of loading up and playing the earnings cycle right now. And that's going to be different whether they overlap. That's fine. Maybe earnings is good and the gap fills. Great. Cool. I can't say when the gap will fill. I don't know, but it will fill. What I can say is that we'll have an earnings run up, right? Always do. So some things you can kind of put a label on for the time, other things in their own, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at for GameStop today. The Chicago volume is super, super interesting. The price action, not really interesting at all. So we're going to work on that and maybe start to play with some more indicators and just do some educational-based things while applying them to GameStop as well. I think that AMD is a good one. I think that the daily gap fill is super basic. You'll all be familiar with that. You'll notice I really rely on my 200, 50, and 21 exponential moving averages. I'll use VWAP 2 intraday. These are my bread and butter. I like to monitor volume. You'll see I have a custom volume tracker here that I've made myself. Current bar, 30 bar, current day, 30 day, and market cap. Mostly for my small cap trades, but also for GameStop, right? We're looking at our 30-day average for GameStop is 7.6 million. Today we're trading at 5.52 million, right? So well below our daily average for GameStop, drying things up. And when we do find volume, the lower that average and the more volume we find, the greater the move will be. And that is really all I do day to day with small cap stocks. I look for a small market cap, so there's, it's easy to move, right? I look for, obviously something with a catalyst that drives volume, right? If it's got a reason for people to come and trade it, that's really, really good. And then if it's got a low daily average, right? If it has the low daily average, the catalyst, and then that volume hitting it, while being a small market cap, that's going to give us a really nice structure to trade. And that's what we typically do day to day. That's not really related to GameStop, but the low daily average with the influx of current volume, which I guess would be known as relative volume, is really important, right? And that is kind of cross genre. So we maybe talk about that as well. And if you're interested in any specific indicators or anything, let me know. I'd love to maybe learn about them, and then we can talk about them together if I'm not familiar with them. I've used other things that aren't here. Like I used to use PSAR quite a bit. The MACD, the RSI, even on balance volume or whatever. Familiar with many things that I don't necessarily use day to day that I'd love to go through if you're interested. So hit me up with anything that you'd like to see in the comments below. Always would love to improve. And just, it's a great way for me to stay up to date on everything as well, right? It's easy just to forget about GameStop. You wish. All right, we'll see you guys soon in the next. Take care.